Alright. In today's world, the greatest threat to humanity is a lack of biodiversity and climate change. Many suggestions on how we fix it, there's many suggestions on how we may fix this. However, the biggest one is the power of the electric world. I am credible to speak on this topic because I spent a numerous amount of hours researching this subject, and I've come up with this conclusion for why I support the thing I'm supporting. So today I'm going to be discussing the benefits and downsides to electricity as a power source and using hydrolysis as a power source. And basically what hydrolysis is it's separating the bond between hydrogen and hydrogen and oxygen, which makes water, through different acids and electricity. So we're going to go on to some of the bad practices for specifically the electric field. Dr. Yusuf Ali and their team from the School of Management Sciences found in their 2022 study published in Science Direct that electric power drives any country's economy. So this is the power sector of any country is going to be the main driving factor for economy. That means that if your power starts to, if your electricity or any sort of that mechanical power starts to decline, so does your country's economy. You're going to become slowly more poor and more poor, and that was one of the biggest deals when it came to figuring out how finances worked in countries. And we've worked on innovation for how we can solve, more environmentally friendly versions of electricity. Solar panels, wind, water, a whole bunch of different stuff. But I can tell you numerous different issues with all of those things. So with solar panels, deforestation, it's not necessarily a great alternative because, they haven't really done any progress. They're taking away something and putting something in place of that, which is kind of just a double negative. It kind of cancels out. But today I'm going to nitpick something else. We're going to go with electric vehicles because that seems to be something that's pretty hyped up in today's world. So, Dr. Muhammad Umir and their team from Aalborg University found in their 2022 study published in Science Direct that electric cars will damage the economy and are extremely expensive to make. So, Tesla. Everybody's a fan of Tesla right now. It's super environmentally friendly. Who doesn't love, exchanging gas and putting just straight electricity in your vehicle and running it completely clean? You think it's clean. However, the metals that are mined in order to make the batteries for your vehicle are lithium-ion batteries. Lithium is inexpensive in terms of environment and money in order to mine. It destroys environments. It is terrible. It's horrible, and I do not think we should be doing that. But some of the good things that come out of it is that it reduces carbon emissions. Yes, it does. It reduces it by a very minute amount. So that's from the transport sector, which is already a very minuscule contributor to the carbon emissions, but it does reduce carbon emissions by just a little bit. But from there, since I like to end on a good note, kind of a good note for the electric side, we can begin discussing the hydrolysis. So, Dr. Jun Zhang and their team from SCUT found in their 2022 study published in Springer Link that hydrolysis is the act of making water, or taking the two separate elements of water and breaking them up. So, you can use two different acids, which I'm going to go over later in my speech, to separate these two things, or you can use electricity and salt, which is a little bit of a different way to. It's a weird process, but it works. And then Dr. Dong Ding and their team from School of Metallurgy found in their 2022 study published in MDPI that we could slow the loose hydrogen particles to be collected. So when the water is broken up, you're just going to have two particles flying around, gaseous hydrogen and gaseous oxygen. Those two products are going to be flying around in the air. How do you capture those? Well, they have found a way to slow down the hydrogen in the air, specifically the hydrogen, so that we can contain that. The oxygen, we don't really need to worry about that. It's pure O2, so it's going to go find something else to bond with, but we want to capture the hydrogen. When you're initially breaking up those two, it's going to produce energy initially when you're breaking the two up. So it's going to have a big explosion of energy trying to pull away from each other. And then the same thing when hydrogen and oxygen rebind with each other, or when hydrogen rebinds with something else. It's going to have a really big explosion there as well. What is that energy? That's what powers things. That's energy that's the same as wind or solar. It's that same kind of energy. However, it's not as environmentally harming. Dr. Franjkovic and their team from University of California found in their 2022 study published in Science Direct that explosive energy is from both ways. That is exactly what I just explained to you. On both sides of the equation there, it's making ATP, which is that energy, and that's going to be able to, we can use that to power cities, to power cars, to power whatever we want to. But then we also have Dr. Yen and their team found, and their team from NTU found in their 2022 study published in Science Direct that mass nitrogen waste is going to be a big downside to using hydrolysis as an effective energy method. So when you use this method through acid rather than electricity, because electricity is going to take more energy to manufacture, you can't really industrialize that, so you have to use the acid instead. Nitrogen byproduct is going to be a really big deal with that. So what we can do in place of that is UV disinfection downstream from wherever this hydrolysis is taking place. We can take care of the nitrogen. That's not a big deal, but that's like the biggest downside to using hydrolysis. So I feel like I made my stance pretty clear on which side I'm kind of leaning towards, but allow me to kind of reinforce it with a little bit more research I did in the background, which this is where I'm going to bring up those two chemical elements I was talking about. So Dr. Zhou and their team from HIT found in their 2022 study published in Science Direct that lysoseme and protease, those are going to be the main contributors to reducing the carbon emission that would effectively be produced by hydrolysis. There is little to almost none carbon emission, and that's the biggest deal. It's carbon dioxide is supposed to be like this greenhouse gas, and that's going to be one of the methods that we use to reduce that, basically. And then Dr. Kai and their team from JUST found in their 2022 study published in Science Direct that we may use rice straw, which is a major waste as a catalyst for hydrolysis. So it's just major bio waste that we can use in order to, it's an enzyme for the process. So allow me to wrap up with a couple different things. I've kind of said a lot of new terms that might be a little confusing. So issues and beliefs to both energy practices. So I've discussed both the issues and some of the good things about both ways. However, I think studying one or the other would be better. And then I've also kind of reinforced why I think one would be better than the other. So hopefully this has provided you some insight to the issues plaguing the globe and the ways that we might fix them. Now, as far as that meaningful closure goes, I just want to tell you guys, this isn't something that has been industrialized, and I talked to you about how hard it's going to be to make this an industrial product. It's going to be very expensive and time consuming. But if we can just take a little time to research this and push a little more effort and money into this project, we might be able to, make this be an industrialized product, and it might improve innovation. So, thank you for listening.